Hi, welcome to our group project. This is Liz, Jocelyn, Phil, and Mike, and we just kind of, as you can see, we made a web that we're going to each talk about individually and how they all kind of relate back to interpersonal skills. So I'm going to talk about time management and handling stress, and with time management, you should first start by making a time log, and within the time log, you figure out like what's taking up most of your time, and then you can set daily, monthly, and personal goals, and figure out your priorities for each day that you need to do. And you should always set deadlines for everything that you do. And also another thing is the 10-10 rule, which I don't know if you guys remember reading about that, but that's the rule that states that if you give just 10 minutes of your day, like scheduling and planning out your day, you'll be 10% more effective. And within the priorities that you need to do, you should always delegate tasks that you think you can't get done to other people. And you always need to find a quiet place to work that will be without interruptions. And moving on over to handling stress, there are 3 responses: a task response, anger, and anxiety. And anger and anxiety are pretty self-explanatory, but with the task response, there's different things that you can do with figuring out a way to actually handle the stress in an action. And you can list different things that may affect your course of action and figure out the best ways to reduce stress. And going along with that just relates back to our time management 10-10 rule, because if you are actually planning out time, you'll be less stressed. And you should figure out how to put yourself in stressful situations to practice. And this was called inoculation in our book. It talked about that. That will help you handle the stress. And all of this kind of relates back to developing procedures to gather data so you're not so overwhelmed. And in the end, you can have more personal time each day so you can reduce your stress and manage your time. So with that being said, we're now going to talk about how stress relates to trust, and how the more stressed you are, the less trust you're going to have within a relationship, and the more trust you have within people and everything like that, you won't be stressed within your relationships, and you won't be stressed with friendships and different people you surround yourself with. So Phil is going to talk about his web with trust and levels of communication.
Okay. To relate trust and levels of communication, you could start by just identifying some of the elements of trust, such as accepting others, loyalty, sharing, honesty, and openness. From those elements, you can take sharing, which then goes on to lead to self-disclosure. Another couple elements, honesty and openness, lead to peak communication. Self-disclosure can lead to closer relationships, keener awareness of self, and improved communication. Peak communication can also create better trust and can also create openness and honesty in a relationship. Finally, all these things lead to relationships that are synergistic. Next thing we're going to do is go to Mike's presentation over self-esteem and committing energy to action steps. You can connect trust and levels of communication to self-esteem, because when you have trust and great communication with your friends, your self-esteem is way higher. Now here's Mike.
Alright, like Phil said, trust relates to self-concept and self-esteem, which also goes hand in hand with creating the vision and establishing goals. To create the vision, first of all, you need to create a vision statement. That's the main thing. It'll help you determine your own self-concept, because you know what you're aiming for in life and know what you need to get to. Second step to creating the vision and establishing goals is to write a goal statement so you have goals to reach in your life and you know when to reach them. Writing goal statements helps develop your self-esteem because you can relate back to those goal statements and see if you've met them. And if you have met them, they'll raise your self-esteem into a high self-esteem, but if you haven't, it can also be a medium self-esteem, and if you've set your goals too high, you may have a low self-esteem. Also, by writing goal statements, it helps develop self-concept and what you think of yourself and what you want yourself to be. Finally, by writing goal statements, it maintains your self-esteem. If you consistently are meeting your goals, you're going to maintain that same self-esteem that you have. Also, by creating the vision and establishing goals, it's very important to commit your energy to action steps. By committing energy to action steps, you're actually doing something, and it's going to make you make expectations and improvements on your life, and it's going to help you to enchant or improve your self-esteem by a day-to-day basis. Also, by committing to action steps, it's going to help you with self-fulfilling prophecies. So once you fulfill those action steps or complete them, you're going to feel a lot better about yourself and very self-fulfilling and raise your self-esteem. So as I said, all this relates to your self-concept and self-esteem. And by this, you need to establish goals, and your goals are mainly going to be related to your values, which we'll talk about with Jocelyn, which
Alright, here's my web I made. I connected online communication with values. I started off thinking about the nature of both. Online communication is always evolving through things like social media, which has blown up in the past couple of years, Facebook, Twitter, and technology. For example, our project right now is being filmed on the iPhone 5, the brand new, newest in technology. Values, the nature of values are that they're learned from others. Our parents and our upbringing have a large influence, as well as the education and media. And I connected those two just thinking that with online communication we have such greater access to information via news sources about controversial topics, and that information can lead to changed values, especially in young adults our age, because people are able to have more information and really think for themselves and challenge the beliefs they may have had previously. Another connection I made between the two is that communicating in an online environment is different from communicating in a face-to-face environment, and your personal skills, personal values are going to be different when you're relating to people face-to-face versus relating to people online. Online, you kind of have to think about your identity because you are anonymous, while in a face-to-face communication, you're able to choose your words and choose your message more carefully. And so I related these two together because while you're communicating in an online forum, it's still important for you to keep your personal values, and for others it may be a challenge to keep your personal values, and I thought that was very interesting. And then I connected online communication to time management, which was another blurb, because in my personal experience I've had some issues managing my time with online communication just because of the availability of it, and because many times I am studying online or on Blackboard. I also have tabs up with Twitter and Facebook, and so I think with time management it's important that we use our own personal skills of being diligent to minimize the time we spend doing distracting things, and to maximize the time we spend online doing things that we need to do. And a lot of the rule of 10 planning that Liz talked about relates to that as well, that if you spend more time planning, you're going to have more time to maximize your efforts and lower stress. Okay, and so that is our web. I'll give you a little bit bigger picture of it. We were just able to, even though they didn't all relate to each other in a direct way, we were able to relate them to each other under the general topic of interpersonal skills. which is the point of this class. So, great job, guys. Thanks.